Cool. So this is one for a conference called EYR, and basically I did something a little different. You could see that there's photo bursts, right? Which is like it looks kind of like stop motion right here. That's a photo burst, but then I also put in like just photos from throughout the service, just to kind of break it up and make the video a little bit longer. So you could get as creative or as playful as you want with this. This one's just the basic like photo burst and stuff like that. And then this is the most recent one that I've worked on. Yeah, so this one's very and it kind of looks a little a little low quality on my end just because of my connection, but I could definitely send it to you guys after. So basically that's what we're gonna go over is how to do this, when to do it and why we should do it. So let me stop sharing my screen real quick here. One of the points that I want to make is that when we're doing this, it's basically taking a lot of photos in a short amount of time. So you need a camera that can do that, so that can shoot at a high burst rate. And then you also need an SD card that could read and write pretty fast. So something like a V90, or if you have a CFast card, then those should work fine. So it's basically you're just holding down the shutter and you're using it to the highest speed possible. So it's just getting that shutter speed to be super fast. That you guys have probably seen different cameras that can do that really fast. So you need to be able to do that. And then you go ahead and edit the photos. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys my process. Yeah, what's up, Jose? I see you got a question.
Yeah, what shutter speed do you use typically?
So, shutter speed, I mean, it just depends on what you want it to be. For this, they're very like paused moments, so it's a high shutter speed. It's cranked, it's probably like at 1 over 400. Um, the lowest would probably be 1 over 200. But then the shooting mode, right? The thing that actually makes the pictures be taken really fast, I'm on the highest possible. So on Sony's, you get high plus, and then you get high, mid, and low. So I'm at high plus here. So I'm like all the way shooting as fast as I can. And so typically, the more expensive your camera is, the faster it could take pictures. Um, and so there's really nice Sony cameras like A1s and A9s that shoot at like ridiculous speeds, but that's for like sports. So great question. Cool. So let me share my screen one more time. We already gave some examples. So the next thing I'm going to do is just show you guys my Lightroom. So I'm not going to be going through like a presentation. Instead, I'm just going to be going through my process with you guys and just showing you what that moment looks like. So I'm not going to be editing the photos today. I'm just going to show you basically what I do. So these are photos from the burst. So you can see that they're already edited. And if I scroll through them, you can kind of see like that stop motion effect that we're trying to go for. Um, so a tip for editing when you're editing these photos is that you don't want to edit them differently. You want them to all be exactly the same when you're editing them. And that's because obviously you're going to see them back to back. So if one is edited brighter than the other, I mean, it'll give it a different effect, but you're kind of wanting it to be seamless. So what I do is I just edit the exact same. So I'll get my first photo. This is the first one of the burst series right here. And I just edit it to what I want it to be. And then I just literally copy and paste to the next one. So it's really cool because you're basically editing one photo for the group, and then you just copy paste the edit. Um, Obviously, I was taking different pictures throughout the moment, but then I did another burst. So all I'm doing is I'm just really turning on and off um, that multi-shooting mode. I forgot what the exact term is, but basically, I'm going from single shooting to the high plus burst rate. um, when I want to do that. So then I'll just go back into that. So yeah, you just edit one photo and then Command C to copy the edit, and then Command V. You could just select basically all these right here, and then you would Command V to edit all those. Can you guys see my screen all right? You see my Lightroom?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jose. So then the next thing you do, I probably can't do it right now because I actually edited these on another drive. But what I would do after this is I group them by bursts. And this is helpful for me when I'm organizing and when I'm actually taking them into the Premiere file, is then I just select them all like this. So I'm holding down the Shift key and then going through them all. And then I export just these. And then when I do it, basically what you'll see is that you get the opportunity to name a file or put them all in one file. And so what I do is I just name them burst one, burst two, burst three, burst four, burst five. So that's pretty much all that you're doing. You're just editing the group. So that's the process. You edit one photo and then apply the same edit to the next ones. And then you go into the export tab with that specific group and you name it burst one. And then you just keep repeating that process with however many bursts you have. The thing about this is that you need to have a lot of bursts in order to make it like a reel. If you wanted to do just like a GIF and you're doing like a carousel and you scroll through and you get that GIF, then that's cool too. You probably only need one series of bursts like this, but to make it into a longer reel, like what I was showing you guys earlier, you need definitely a few bursts to make it possible. So if I go back here, we can count them. Let me actually let me mute it. But yeah, right here, that's one burst, two bursts, three bursts, four bursts, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 bursts within one reel to make it that long, and it's not really that long. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys my Premiere Pro project. So that was Lightroom. Let's go into Premiere Pro now. So the reason that I would say that it's simple but a little bit more advanced to do this technique as like a photographer is because you need to know how to use Lightroom and then you need to know how to use Premiere. So if you guys are photographers and you kind of want to get a little bit more experience into Premiere, then this is a perfect way to start. Just because you guys don't need to do too much video editing. You're just basically resizing. Can everyone see my Premiere Pro project? Cool, got one thumbs up. So hopefully you guys can see this. What this is just basically the actual what the actual project looks like. So it's super simple. But basically what I did is you see how it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 17 here. So these are all the different bursts that I have here. And so when I go into the bursts, I open it up and I could see my different photos like that. And so what I did is I'm working off of two sequences. I'm not doing this all in one sequence. And if I'm going too slow or sorry, if I'm going too fast, let me know. You can raise your hand. And if you have a question, feel free to pause me. So yeah, basically I'm working off of two sequences. So it looks like this at first. Very plain, just very basic. And what I had to do was I had to go in here and resize them all. So let me go into the vertical tab here so you guys can see this a little better. But basically, if I go here, I select this specific photo and then into effect controls. It was at 100 before, so it looked before like this. So I basically resized it to be 56 like that so that it fills the whole screen and I get most of the real estate of the photo. And so because I know that this photo is 56, I can do the same thing with all the other photos. So then you have to go and resize these photos. You could do that in Lightroom too. Um, I just don't do that in Lightroom because I want to get the full quality um, of all the photos. So I don't make them a specific aspect ratio. I just export them however I can because I want them to be the highest resolution. But this is probably the most painstaking or like the most long process of this whole thing. It's not really hard. It's just annoying because you have to do this to literally all these photos. So all these pink things are a different photo. And so I went into all these and resized them to be that 56 or around that 54 um, size. So I just scaled them down right here. This one was is 55 right now, but it used to be that. So does that make sense, guys? That I had to scale them down? Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully I didn't lose any of you guys. Okay, cool. I'm getting thumbs up. So yeah. So basically I had to just rescale all these photos. But again, I labeled them as bursts. So you could see that here that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 17. And then I just threw them into the timeline, resized them. Now the next thing that you do, because if you look right here, this video is because now they're not photos anymore. They're being put into a video because it's Premiere. This is 12 minutes long worth of photos. So if I were to play the video, look, I'm going to press play. 5 seconds per photo. So obviously we don't want it to be that long. So what you're going to do is you're going to select all of these right here. You're going to select all these photos, and then you're going to do something called nesting. So when you nest something or when you nest two clips, two files, whatever it is, you're basically making all of them into one file. So I'm going to do that by just highlighting all these. Just drag my cursor so they're all highlighted. And then I right click and then it says nest right here. Okay. So then I nest it and I could just say photo bursts. So I know what it's called, what to look for. And now they're all one. You guys see that? They're all one. So it's now just one clip that I have to edit. I don't have to do the whole thing. Why am I doing that? Why make it all into one? Well, it's because now what I want to do is speed it all up. I don't want it to be 14 minutes long, 12 minutes long. So now what I could do, the shortcut for speed and duration on Premiere Pro is Command R. So now I go to speed and now I just make it quicker. So it's 100% right now. I don't want it to be 100%. I could double that. I could triple it. But when it's 12 minutes, you're going to want to speed it up a lot. So if I do 300%, it still is 4 minutes long of photos. So I'm still waiting a while. I'm not getting the right effect that I want. So it needs to be a lot quicker. So let's do something like 5,500%. Okay, let's see if we get the effect we want. There we go. See, now they kind of look like stop motion. They look like action figures that you're posing. And that's the effect that we want. So you can mess around with the speed. You could do a little bit slower, get a little bit more length. But I find that usually the faster the better because with reels like this, you just want it short and entertaining. You don't want it to take a long time. So let me see here. Let me go into the next one that I have. So if I go here, um, so I'm just copying and pasting this into um, so Oscar asked, you don't just make each clip zero point 0.5 to 0.07 seconds long. You could do that too. I used to do that as well, but I prefer to do it this way because I feel like it's easier to control the speed a little bit more. Um, and I'll show you why I do this as well. I'm going to show you why I basically nested them. Okay, let me make it a little bit faster, maybe 56. 100. Okay, something like this. Okay, so now this is my timeline. Let me take off the effects. So the other reason Oscar brought up a great point is that if I wanted to, I could just select them and then do the same thing, speed duration, and then put in right here in duration instead of speed, I could put in a specific value. So I want each of them to be 0.4 seconds long. I don't do it that way because what I want to do as well is I want to scale in. So scaling in is basically another term for zooming in. So what that looks like is right here, it says scale and it's 100. So I'm going to keyframe that. And then at the end, I'm going to do 120 or whatever. I want it to be noticeable, right? So I just punched in. So now what it's doing is you can make one burst like however you want to and make it look cool, but I like to make them look a little bit more cohesive throughout the whole timeline. And in order to make all the bursts look a little bit more cohesive and not like we're getting different things is basically you're zooming in throughout the whole thing. And so you get this like effect of being drawn into the burst. So it's 100 here and then we're scaling in. Now they're going by pretty fast. So sometimes the scaling in has to be like a little bit more dramatic to catch it. This is only going to 120. Let me try it at 120. Let me try it at like 130. Let me see. Cool. But basically, they're all like zooming in a little bit now. Hopefully you guys can see that. You get that effect on like the longer bursts. Premiere Pro is lagging a little bit. It's just because it's a lot of photos. It's a lot of data. There we go, though. Yeah, so when the bursts are a little bit longer, you can kind of see that it's kind of scaling in like if I were to be moving in, but I'm not. I'm just taking the photos from the same point. Um, and then let me see. Getting some messages in the chat. Go 1/4. Never mind. Okay. So after that, you want it to be a more cohesive video. I feel like adding some video elements makes it a little bit nicer. So you can just add lens flares, different things over where it cuts, and it just makes it look a little cooler. Sometimes you just need to add a little bit more pizzazz or something. You could add grain too. Doesn't really matter what you add because it's more like creative. What are the best places to get lens flares? I actually got some um off of a YouTube video. I looked up lens flares for free and then it had a link to lens flares. So I got some that way when I was starting out and I really wanted some. But I recently bought a pack from Cinegrams. So you could look up Cinegrams on Instagram. They have a pack. If you guys have like Motion Array or Envato Elements, they'll sell some too. If you're subscribed to them, then you can get some that way. So there's a lot of places. Um, yes, Oscar, it'll be posted, so you can check it out later. And then the next thing I do is basically add sound effects. So this is the video with the lens flares and the sound effects. Let me know if you could hear it. Cool. So it started lagging at the end there, but basically, where do I put them? I start them wherever there's a new burst. So if I'm going into a new burst, I'll put a lens flare and then I'll put a sound effect to go into that. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And then the last thing is to add a song. These are supposed to be like high energy. It would be interesting to see like a slow song on it. That might work too, but for stuff like this where people are like worshiping and you're getting musicians and stuff like that, I like to do like some type of rap song will work well or hip hop or just something energetic. So I put this song, I think it's Caleb Gordon. And that's pretty much it. So really simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it, and I don't think it should be overcomplicated at all. I think it's a really simple technique that you guys can use to elevate your photos. Um, Let me go here though. So that's how to make a photo burst reel. If you're just making a photo reel, with just a bunch of photos, let's say you guys took a bunch of photos, got a ton of coverage of the service, and you only posted like 20 of them, or you only made like one photo carousel and one graphic, and now you have all these other photos that you haven't used. What I like doing too, just to make another piece of content, just to basically add more to the event, is get all the photos that I've taken and put them into a reel, and it should tell the story in itself of how that service looked. Um, and for those, I do like to make it a little bit more of like an atmospheric song instead of instead of like a praise break or a hip hop, or I'll make it more like atmospheric. So I did this one. Let me see where it's at. Cool. That did not look good because of my Wi-Fi. Give me 1 second. Where is it at? Yeah, it's right here.
Hey, Caleb, this might be a little bit off topic, but how are you doing those effects on those pictures with like that motion blur kind of effect?
Oh, right here, this like the drag or
Yeah.
um I'll I'll show you right now. Let me show this real quick with the song,
Okay.
then I'll explain that. But great question. So yeah, with these videos where it's just like different types of photos, it's not a photo burst. I feel like having a simpler song, something more melodic or atmospheric, works really well. And again, it's the same elements that I'm using to kind of elevate it a little bit more instead of us just watching photos. I nested all of them together, and then I'm scaling in. So I'm punching in there. And then there's some sound effects that go in the back. There's like an old camera taking a picture, kind of like makes that beeping sound. And then there's also like a VHS or like a cassette tape going. So it makes it look like you're watching it on a projector. Um, and yeah, it's pretty simple. But cool. Let me answer Raul's question really quickly. So he had a question about this motion blur effect. And so that was actually, I think, the first video that I made for KC. So I'd love to send it over to you. It goes into more detail, but basically what you're doing is you're shooting at a high aperture, something like f8, f5.6, around there to get as much in focus as possible, but also to really close your aperture because you're going to be lowering your shutter speed to a point. It could be like 1/1 over 5 or 1/8, 1/10. So it's going to be so open, and what that does is it really makes your photos really bright. So you need to stop down your aperture, go to like f8, and then your ISO can be wherever it needs to be. This is taken with a flash, so you got to take that into consideration as well. So it'll take a few tries to get your settings perfect, and then all you're doing is you're taking the photo. And remember, shutter speed is 1 over another number because your shutter is moving at a fraction of a second. So if it's 1/5, then your shutter is moving at 1/5 of a second. And so basically what you're doing is you're taking the photo, and then right when you press down on that button, you're moving the camera physically. So you could move it to the right, to the left, up, down. It doesn't really matter, wherever you want the motion blur to go. Do you absolutely need flash? No, you don't need flash at all to take a motion blur effect photo. It just kind of highlights them right here. So if I took it without a flash, basically these people would be more prominent in the background, but because I took it with a flash, these two are like more lit. The people in the front are more prominent. Let me see if I have another example. Yeah, right here with flash, you do get a little bit more of an exaggeration on the motion blur. But you could still do the same effect without a flash. I've done it many times. So
Hey
yeah,
Caleb,
yeah, what's up?
when you move your when you do that shutter drag thing, do the pictures look better when you move horizontally or vertically, or does it not matter?
Um, I typically always go for horizontal, but it doesn't really matter. I've seen some cool effects where you do it vertically. It looks good vertically when there's like one person. If there's like one person on stage and you're basically making a line out of that person, it looks good as a group of people when you move it horizontally. That's what I think. So if there's one subject, you could just do it vertically. But if there's multiple subjects that you're working with, you could do it horizontally and it'll look good. But you can play around with it. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you to be creative. So great question. Um, and yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I don't want to, like I said, overcomplicate it. I think photo bursts and photo reels like that should be very simple. And basically all the hard work should be when you're taking the photo and editing the photo. And then once you guys have all this content, you could just make more out of it through those techniques. So, do we have any questions? Anything else? Sorry, I'm looking over here because I have my Zoom over here. But let me see. Yeah, any more questions about photo bursts or photography in general, video, Premiere Pro?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah, so
For events such as like I guess Vigilias, I don't know, conferences, such and such. Um, Typically when you have calls with team members and whatnot, what are like maybe three topics or three, points that you'd like to go over just to make sure, stress is not prominent the day of shooting?
okay, great question. So you're talking about like if you're leading the team
Pretty much, yeah.
and you don't want them to be stressed.
Just to limit stress and just to better organize ourselves. So the day of, we're not, trying to figure out what's going to be done or why is this person not doing that or just to limit stress overall.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, congratulations on leading a team. That's a big effort in itself. But one thing
Appreciate
that I would say for sure is basically to have a meeting before the actual event. I think that always um, helps alleviate stress. And when you're having to create content this day and stuff like that, honestly, unless you're meeting like an hour before the event starts, or even like 2 hours if you're setting up lights and stuff, if you're meeting like a few hours before the event, then that's helpful. But basically, find time to meet with the team before the event starts so that you can go over the roles that everyone's going to play and then the content that you want everyone to grab. And one thing that I was doing for the NYAs, I'm trying to find it here. But basically for the NYAs, what I would always do is I had like a Google sheet or a Google Doc, and then I had specific um, pieces of content, and I basically let them know here's what I expect you to make and have finished by the end of the event, or at least like throughout the week of the ending of the event, so that they knew what they needed to do and it was communicated to them. But the other thing that I did in that meeting is I definitely asked them, how much do you think you can make, or what do you want to make? I didn't just like rule over them and say like, hey, I expect you to take all these photos, edit them by the end of tonight, and it better be done. I think as leaders, what we need to do is know the team, know what we're working with, and know everyone's experience level. Because I mean, you guys see Kingdom Creators, there's like 150 people in there, but not everyone has the same experience, which is a good thing. You want people that are learning, you want new people and stuff like that. So yeah, just know who you're working with, and basically have a clear expectation in mind that you communicate to them. And I think that helps because when I go into it, I always go into the event like, oh, I want to make a reel and I want to get photos done. And if I get those two things done, then I feel accomplished. If I don't, then basically I know, oh, I could just always work on the reel later. You know what I mean? So hopefully that answers your question. I'm still looking for that Google Doc to show you.
No, I got you. Yeah, it does answer my question. Yeah, because this team in specific, I'm not. fully leading it because I'm visiting the church, but the leader is new to media, so I'm almost helping out, but helping out with leadership in a way as well. Since I mean, in a way, I have the most experience of the team.
Yeah.
And I just want to try to make sure we get this event planned out right.
Yeah, that's cool, bro.
Yeah, and then for stuff like that, the night of, because I know, I mean, it's an event. You know, you're tired. The shooters are tired. Um, Photo wise and video wise, what do you think would be good to upload? Like how many photo reel or how many photo posts or how many video posts?
Just as much as you can. I don't think there's a specific amount, and I don't think you guys need to hold yourselves to any specific standard. I think it always just depends on the team. Typically what I tell the team is always like at least one piece of content per person. Sometimes you guys are working with someone amazing that has always created content and they're able to pump it out fast. I've worked with people that basically create like six pieces of content at the end of the night. For EYR, we were each creating like three pieces of content, and it was only a three-person team. So it really just depends on your team, but if you have a team of three, then I would kind of expect three pieces of content and try to aim for that, you know. But if you don't hit that, it's totally fine. But basically, let me go through this real quick. So this is what I would send out to the teams for NYA, and it's basically the region and then the different team members that we have, what their role is, so that you're not like, oh, I thought I was taking photo, you know, what do you mean I'm doing video or whatever? So we discussed that. I have a folder where they would upload their finals. So they send it to me, but they also put it on Google Drive so that I have it in two places and then a place to download the asset. So if they needed graphics, if they needed for the photographers, I would always give them a preset. So they would download that here before the event happened. That way we weren't wasting time at the actual event. And then schedule, call time, and then the different tasks. So reels, photos, and graphics. I didn't name it video because that's funny. I have someone on here. I don't know who that is, but someone's checking it out too, which is cool. And yeah, basically the task. And then the owner is basically the person responsible. They could put in the status. We never really use this, but it could be cool if you didn't finish it by the end of the event. And then the priority. So hey, I really need this reel by the end of the night because we're gonna show it tomorrow morning. You know, whatever that might look like. So basically it's that. And then on the bottom I have inspiration. So just if you're running out of ideas or you're not exactly sure what the leader's looking for, I communicate that to them as well. It's like, hey, I want to see a reel like this, or I want photos like this, or whatever it might be. But yeah, I can actually make this into a template for you guys if you want it. If you guys are making teams and leading teams for events, then I could definitely do that. Um, Template would be awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I could send that in. But great questions, guys. Anything else? Anything for photo or video? Going once, going twice. Okay, cool. Well, then we could wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for joining. We wanted to keep it efficient, just keep it simple. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message us in the Slack. Keep the conversations going, and that's pretty much it. So have a good day, guys. See you later. God bless you.